Yes, yes, it's working. It's working. So now we have a club card sign in. So we're gonna make the club card redeem where every time you use channel points to sign in, you see the stream's club card to show that you are a member of the stream. I'm going to talk about this, like assuming you already know how SAMMI works, or at least watch the first video on how to set up SAMMI and the basics of setting up a button and commands. And we're just going to do like one side first before we get to a flipping animation. And so what you will need for this is you're going to need the OBS Move plugin. And then when we do the flip animation, you're going to need 3D effect. Both of these are by Exeldro. You're also going to need the Source Clone plugin because we're going to copy the scene into the main scene with Source Clone. And I'll show you the reason why I like to do that later. But this copy scene, this lets you put a scene within a scene. And this was also in the first video as well, if you haven't gotten it already. Okay, so I have my club card scene. I imported my club card graphic into this new scene. I created a new scene separate from my main scene because we're going to do all the work in this new scene and then merge it into the main scene with the source clone. What I want to do is I'm going to add a text source. And I'm going to put like just a placeholder. Call that username. Going to make it just a black color right now. And I'm going to put this on our legally distinct club card. Arial black. That's a good one. Okay, I also am going to bring in this graphic just to act as the profile picture, just as a placeholder here. You can obviously make this anything you want. Put the username up here. I'm going to rename this source club card username. And then I'm going to duplicate this source. No, I'm going to make a new source. I'm going to make a new text source. Call it the user ID. I'm going to call it the club card user ID, and I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it under here. And this is going to be like a bunch of gibberish numbers, or not gibberish numbers. It's the number associated with your Twitch username. Everyone on Twitch has an ID, and we're going to actually pull that in here. So this is what the card will look like, I think, at the end. Of course, you can make it look a lot more prettier than I made it, but I'm just using this as an example. Okay, because the main thing that we're going to do here is we're going to animate it with the Move plugin, and then we're also going to use SAMMI to pull in this information. So I'm going to go into SAMMI. I'm going to go into my button. I just made a new deck for this, but you can put this in any deck. And I'm going to add I want this to happen every time someone uses the channel point. The command I want is trigger pull data. This is the command that actually lets you pull in information from when someone uses channel points, when they chat, when they subscribe. You can get their username and a bunch of other information from the redeem or the event. So I'm going to click pull value, look for channel point redemption, and I'm going to click username. I haven't set up the redeem yet, but we'll do it right after this. Okay, so it's going to pull value username, and I'm going to copy the command and also pull value user ID. And I'm just going to rename these to the variables that we want, club card username, and make this variable club card user ID. Before we keep going, I'm actually going to set up the redeem. I should have probably done that first. Okay, so I'm doing the trick where I'm making the redeem cost a ton of channel points so no one uses it when I have to test. I'm going to call the reward sign in. And also, here's a trick for this exact redeem, which is limit redemption per user per stream. Set that to 1. So everybody can only use this redeem once when you're streaming, right? Like you only want them to sign in once, if that makes sense. There we go. All right, I should have this here. Okay, so now I see my redeem right here. Okay, getting back to the button. So before I keep going, I'm going to add a trigger to this button. Go to channel point redeem or channel point redemption. Go to the redeem I just created, which was sign in. Click load from Twitch API if you don't see it, but that should load in all your redeems that you created. This will not have any user input. It's just someone's going to use it once and they don't have to type anything in. Okay, so now this is all set up to pull this information anytime someone uses that redeem. I want to change this card's username and the user ID to the information to match the person who just used the redeem. I'm going to add a source change text command where I'm going to look for my club card username source name. And then I'm going to copy this command and then also select the club card user ID, right? So I want to update these two text sources with the redeem information. And that's pretty straightforward. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the $/ syntax to use my variables. So club card username, then club card user ID. What this is doing is it's taking the username information and the user ID information from whoever just used the redeem and then updating the card with that information. And it's saving these as variables. Look, it's saving these as the variables that I created called club card username and club card user ID. So now I want to use this /$ syntax because that's the way that SAMMI knows. That's how you tell SAMMI, hey, I don't want to just update this text to say club card username, right? I don't want it to say that. I actually want it to use the value of the variables that it is set to, right? Okay, so I'm going to test it. I'm actually going to save this and then test it with my test redeem. Oops. Oh, there we go. Let's try it one more time. But I'm at my limit. I actually can't test it again because the limit that I set actually is stopping me from testing it a lot. So I'm actually going to turn off that limit. I'm silly. But I have to turn it back on when it actually goes live. That's awesome. Okay, so now it's let me reset this actually. So let me just make it all gibberish. And then when I use the channel point redeem, it should update it with my information because I'm the last person who used it. Okay, so it works. So this all now works. So that was easy. The next thing I want to do is I want to animate this coming in and out. I'm going to group all these things together by selecting all the sources, right-clicking and going to group selected items. I'm going to say just the club card, call it the club. I'm going to call it the club card group. And then I'm going to right-click my scene, right-click the scene and go to filters. You can add filters to scenes. Okay, and you actually have to, I think this filter only works on scenes, so this is something you really should know. Right-click to add a filter, and I'm going to click Move Source. Okay, so the Move plugin comes with a bunch of different move filters. I'm not going to get into every single one today, but the main one I'm going to focus on today is Move Source. I want to have the source selected club card group. So I want it to select this whole group here. And then I want two of these. So I'm going to duplicate this. Actually, let me think about this. How do I want this to work? So, I want it to, let's say, come in and then go back out. The first source, the first move source, I'm going to rename to card in. And this is a really key part about move source is like, how do I get the position, right? How do I get the position? I'm going to click get transform. It's going to get the current position of this whole thing, right? And so if I move it anywhere, it'll move it back to the position it was just at, right? The get transform button will help me do that. Or the get transform button will help me save that information in the filter. And for move source 2, I'm going to write card out. Okay, and then now if I do card in and card out, I test that. Okay, so if I do card out, I move it up. I actually want to readjust it. So let me do card in. Okay, now it's gone. Click card out. Oh my God. Hold on. I'm in card in. I want it to move out. And I'm going to click get transform again to get the coordinates for when it's out of the scene. And now when I click card in, it'll move in. And when I click card out, it'll move out. All right, so now I got these move filters set up. It's looking good. I should probably talk about how these filters work. When you turn on the filter, it animates based on what the filter settings are. So there's a custom duration here, which is like, I can set this to, let's say I want the card out to like go even faster. I can set it to 100 milliseconds and it's going to zip out, right? Whereas card in is 300 milliseconds and it's going to come in a little slower. You can set the easing, how it animates. So if I put no easing, it slides in more linearly. Where if I put ease in and ease out, there's like, it smooths it out as it comes in and out, but that may not always be the right animation style you're going for, okay? I'm gonna keep it as default. And there's some more stuff here that we'll talk about, right? But this is the main thing that you want to see. This is the main stuff that you want to mess around with. You can also add a start delay and end delay. So it's like when you activate the filter and let's say you want it to wait for 1 second, so that's 1,000 milliseconds. If I wanted to wait 1 second before it animates, I can see there was like a little pause there. So you have a lot of options with this, but I'm going to keep it, again, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it simple here. And in this button, I'm going to add filter, change visibility, go to my club card scene, actually club card, and I want to select the scene. I want to select the scene name. When it says source name, you can also select scenes. So I want to select the scene name club card and card in, make it visible. Copy this and then make card out. Let's say after 2 seconds, I want the card to animate out, okay? There's gonna be an easier way to do this that I'm gonna show you, but I wanna show you this method first. So I wanna turn on this filter, let it animate, and then bring it out after 2 seconds, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna test it with channel points so it doesn't say undefined. There we go. Perfect, so that works completely with channel points. So that pretty much is our whole redeem. But we can actually simplify this even further, and I would actually encourage you to try to simplify these things even further. Let's say that I got rid of this command here. This filter change visibility, this second one here, and I only activated one, right? Let's say that we want to clean up our code a bit in SAMMI. There is a trick, or there is a feature in the Move plugin where you can actually chain these Move plugins together. If you scroll down, you will find this actions section, and you can see that you can trigger a simultaneous move or a next move. These are the two we're going to focus on, all right? So simultaneous move means trigger another filter at the same time that this filter activates, or wait until this filter is done and use next move and trigger that filter when this filter is done. So I'm going to use next move, right? Because I want the card out sequence to happen when card in is finished. So let me test that for you right here. All right, so that actually is working, but not exactly in the way that I want it, because I want it to hang out for like 2 seconds and then the card out happens. But that is working. So what's happening is it's animating the card in, and then when it's done, it goes to the next move and it goes to card out. So I can do this in a few ways. I'm going to do it like this. With card out, I'm going to add a start delay. You could also add an end delay with card in, but I'm going to add a start delay to card out, which is about 2 seconds. So what this is going to say is wait 2 seconds before you animate the card out. Boom. And I realize there is kind of a trade-off to this. So like in this exact kind of redeem scenario, I probably would want to add a timeout here too. And in that case, you might as well have might as well manually trigger it all in SAMMI, because like we're going to queue these buttons together and I just want to make sure they're not like colliding with each other. So I'm actually going to make it like 2100 milliseconds. Add edit setting, add queue, and I'm going to call it the club card queue. Right, so this is going to help us queue the buttons together. This was covered in the first video. Now it all works together. And now I'm going to put it into my main scene. Right, so I'm going to click main scene, and I'm going to add it as a source clone. I want to clone the club card scene. Uncheck audio, because it might get crazy if audio shows up. You're not going to see a preview because the card's out of the scene, right? So to test it, I'm just going to trigger the redeem here. Perfect. Right, and then now I can resize it however I want. Maybe I'll put it right here. You can choose however you want that to look, but I'm going to leave it there. Does the timeout need a delay since there's a couple second animation going off? No. Oh, that's a good point. I mean, technically all of this happens at once, so I'm okay with the timeout starting immediately. All right, so that's it end to end. Let's test it with you guys. Let me make the cost 1, and then we'll do questions. So if you guys want to test it for me, there you go. Yeah. Uh-oh. Hold on, it's like changing. Sometimes it changes. Uh-oh. Sometimes it changes before it fades out. So there's something wrong here. This is unplanned. This was actually unplanned. So I am actually doing something wrong. You know what? The timeout doesn't encompass the entire animation because it's 2100 seconds, but it actually should be something like 2500 because it's 200 milliseconds. It's 300 milliseconds for the animation in, 200 to animate out, plus 2000 of delay. So really, it's 2500 total of timeout, but maybe it should actually be 2600. There we go. Yeah. So the names aren't getting mixed up. To be honest, now that I see it this way, it might be better if you just actually manually did the card out as well. So you can also do it this way and have this like trigger, let's say, after you show the card for 2500 milliseconds. I turned this timeout off, but yeah, for the YouTube viewers, if you're watching this, you can go with either way, right? Like I just want to show the next move command on move source, but this also works too, right? Like there's no like, you don't need to optimize at this point. I'm gonna keep it like this. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Here, let me turn on the Costco card again. So I'm gonna show you how to do the flip like this card that I have on my stream. I am going to make a new scene and call it the front club card front. And we actually might need to make like 2 or 3 more scenes. This is going to be a bit more free form because I'm trying to remember how I did it all together straight from the dome. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new scene called club card front. Let's see. I'm going to add a 3D effect directly on the club card front asset. And I think I'm going to go to mode, orthographic, and go to rotation X. Nope, rotation Y. Yep, that's rotation Y. Let me reset the X one. Yeah, rotation Y. So rotation Y, and then I want it to rotate 90 degrees, like a full 90. I can just like change this value here. There, so it like basically disappears. And then I'm gonna add a move value. So this is another filter from the Move plugin, and this lets you manipulate anything in a filter. Like it lets you manipulate any numerical value in these filters. So if I select the filter 3D effect and I go to, let's say, rotation X, get value, right? This is like get transform, but get value. Okay, sometimes it doesn't get it right away, so I have to click back here. Oh, sorry, rotation Y. So if I click rotation Y, get value, and then copy this move value, and then again, okay, so this is where it glitches out. It doesn't show me right away. I just have to click out and click back into it, and I change this back to 0. And if I click between these two filters, boom, it animates that 3D effect, right? What it's doing is it's actually changing this value right here. You're not seeing it change on the filter itself, but it is changing that Y value. So let's rename these. So I'm going to call this front card animate hold, and then I'm going to call this front card animate return. What I'm also going to do is, I'm going to like undo all the work we did here. Okay, I'm going to undo all the work we did here. Control F. Okay, so I'm going to bring this card back in. I'm going to add this filter. I'm going to actually remove these filters right now. Okay. And then I'm going to make a copied, I'm going to make a source clone here that will also show, I'm going to make a source clone to bring in that other card, the other card scene, because I want these two together. Okay, so I'm going to animate it all in this layer, basically. Okay, cool. So I'm going to set it up the same way for this card back, club card back, right? Where I'm going to right click it, add the 3D effect, add my move values, select 3D effect, select the rotation Y, and set this to 90 degrees so it will like disappear. Uh-oh, that's in perspective. I wanted an orthographic, so make sure you do that. All right, so set the value to 90 degrees. Make sure it's orthographic, move value, and it works. It looks like it folded in. So I'm going to duplicate this. Click. Got it. It glitched out, so I have to click out and click in. Put it to 0 degrees, and this will fold out. Okay, so now this folds in, and now this folds out. So I'm going to call this card back fold in. I'm going to call this card back fold out. Let's go do this manually. When the card shows up, I want the front of the card to show first. I want it to fold. The moment it's done folding, go back here, and I want it to fold out, and then move away, right? So I'm going to handle this actually all in SAMMI. There is a way to do this all in move action, but I think to keep things simple, I'm going to keep it all in SAMMI, right? So there's a way to like kind of automate this through OBS, but I think for the sake of simplicity here, we're gonna do it through SAMMI, and it's good practice too. Let's reset these to their the way that we want them to be default. So I want the front of the card to show, right? And I want the back of the card to be hidden. In SAMMI, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it all on the same button. You know, get all this info, club card front reel. Yes, it needs to be the asset, not the scene, because the filter's on the asset. I want it to fold, right? I want it to fold. And I think that's about a 300 millisecond fold. So after 300 milliseconds, I want it to, on the back of the card, I want that to open. I want the front of the card to fold. I want the back of the card to open. Okay, let's test that. Perfect. Okay, and it should say undefined because I just did a quick testing thing. This is a cursed way of doing it. This is how my brain works, okay? This is my sick and twisted brain. Animate fold. Okay, so I want the front to fold in, the back to fold out. After a while, I want the back to fold in and then the front to fold out. Okay, hold on, let's try it again. Okay, so now we're going to change this a little bit because now this scene, I'm going to change the source clone to reference the one with the flip, with the card flip on it. So now it has this. Perfect. Okay, but now I want this to like move in and move out, right? And I could do that. I could add the move source function on the main scene, but because I want this on like multiple scenes eventually, or for me, this is more flexible, I'm going to do it in an even more cursed way. Okay. So I'm going to actually make a new scene because I have a problem. Okay. I have a scene hoarding problem. I'm going to call it the club card summary. I'm going to copy this source clone in here because I just want it. I just want everything together. And so now this is a clone of this scene where all the animation takes place. And now I want to move this whole thing in and out anytime someone uses sign in. So I'm going to add the filters again to move the source in. I'm going to add a move source to move it in, get transform of source clone 3, duplicate, and then I'm going to move source out. And I'm going to rename this source, actually, that's probably good practice, to club card clone. Okay, and then just, hold on. Make sure everything is together. Great. So now I renamed it to club card clone. If I activate this move filter. Uh-oh. Okay, so that's not working. So I should just redo it. Move it here, club card in, get transform. So it locks in this location, and then move card out, goes back up. Move card in, goes here. Move card up, goes diagonal. Here's how I'm going to fix it. Goes up diagonally a little bit, which I don't like because the Y is slightly offset. So I'm just going to look at the Y values here. So this is negative 539. This is, no, sorry, the X values are off a little bit, and I want them to be aligned. So it goes straight up instead of diagonal. So I'm going to modify the X value a little bit. So I'm going to make the X value align with 361. So I'm going to type that in here. Move out. Great. So now it moves perfectly vertical. I want to add this filter change visibility. Club card summary. Card move in. And now I have to do all this math in my head to make it all work together, but we're going to do it this way, the cursed way. So it's going to move in at 0 milliseconds. Okay, immediately. Then after that, I want to fold it at 300, fold out at 600, fold in at 900. Hold on, no, fold in, wait a while, let's wait 2 seconds, fold in at 2600, then return at 2900, and then move out at 3200. A cursed way to do this, but effective. Okay, so let's run the button and see how it goes. Perfect. So I want to add a new source clone. Actually, I want to get rid of this. Add a new source clone. Club card summary. Make sure it works. Let's test it. Awesome. And then let me just turn on the actual channel point to make sure it works. Yay! Yeah, that's awesome. That looks good. I think it looks pretty good. Oh, I should do that. I see. I should do a wait for a timeout at the end, just so there's a gap between the buttons a little bit. So I'll just do like 100 milliseconds at 3500 because it has to animate out. I believe this should now be the complete code. Yes. Yes, it's working. It's working. So now we have a club card sign in for the stream, or you can make a club card sign in for your stream.